Hi, I'm Pooja Deng. I'm a women's executive and leadership coach. And today I'd like to talk about an example of the types of tricky situations I sometimes help my clients navigate. My client's org was going through a level realignment where they were basically making sure everyone at every tier or level, manager, director, senior director, were aligned within the org. And so during this time period, HR's guidelines over the 3 months was no one was going to get promoted in the org, period. Now, in this org, there was like 5 verticals. And basically what ended up happening is the leaders at the top of 4 of the 5 verticals chose to ignore the guidelines and promoted people anyway. Now, a little bit of context, this was also during sort of the pandemic, right, where people have been working really hard. So it's maybe not as unexpected. I mean, I think their heart was in the right place where it was like people have been working really hard. We're going to do this anyway. The problem is my client worked in the 5th vertical where her leader actually followed the rules, followed the guidelines provided by HR, and therefore was not promoted. Now, promotion cycles usually just you're up for promotion a couple of times a year, but mostly it's annually. So what this would mean is she would be 6 months at a minimum, but maybe a year behind the cycle when she would normally be promoted. Adding insult to injury was she was one of maybe 2 or 3 people in the whole org that got a rating of 1, which was exceeds expectation. So clearly she was someone that should have been promoted. Now, the situations are tricky because you're like, well, what do? You don't want to come across as sort of a victim. You don't want to come across as whining about something. And yet this is clearly unfair, right? And so we came up with a plan for her to make the ask and make the case to present why this really didn't make sense. Here's everything that she had accomplished. Like it had to be one of 2 things. Either everyone else had to follow suit and or this vertical had to be made whole. Now, long story short, she is a top performer. She's an ultimate professional in the way she makes the ask. She is completely bold, right? And is able to show up in a way that comes from providing the facts and being assertive and being bold and not being accusatory or defensive or coming across as being a victim, right? And so she was able to remedy the situation in that not only did she then get promoted, it took a couple of months, but then she got back pay and an adjustment and an apology for what happened. So the case in point is this, right? Things come up all the time. So in this case, it was not an intentional thing to actually have people in one vertical get screwed, if you will, compared to the others, right? These things happen where a policy is rolled out, leaders at the top make their own judgment calls. It was also the pandemic, so you can also see them sort of wanting to lean into being nicer or giving people rather than holding back. And so in this case, this is what came up. But you have to realize it's super important for you to advocate for yourself and not hold on to the feeling of any resentment, because all that happens is it grows into resentment and bitterness, right? And then it leads you to disengage. In this case, she made the absolute right call by making the ask, being assertive, presenting the facts, and then getting a remedy for it. If you find yourself tackling tricky situations such as this and you'd like a strategic advisor to help you navigate this, give me a call, shoot me an email. Let's connect together live to see if we might be a good fit to work together and I can help you with your career challenges so you can thrive and grow. Until next time.